What is a selective inhibitor of nuclear export, or SINE?
So Selinexor is a very exciting new drug. It's a first-in-class agent, which means it's a novel mechanism of action. We don't have any other drugs in this category. And what's really interesting about this is it's not just myeloma. And the reason I think it was published in the New England Journal is there are other tumors that are also being studied, including lymphoma, sarcoma, endometrial cancer. And so what it brings up then is that cancer cells have a shuttle protein that moves proteins from the brains of the cell, the nucleus, into the cytoplasm. And those proteins are very important for cell growth and division and basically survival. And the three main categories of those are tumor suppressor proteins. So these are the brakes of the cells that prevent the cells from growing. And often cancer cells are smart. They pump those brakes out of the brain, and then the brain can grow and do its thing. And basically this is like a sedative for the brain because it stops that pump. And then these tumor suppressors brakes are retained in the nucleus where they stop the cell from growing. The second category of proteins are called oncoproteins, and so these are proteins that help the cell grow, and these are also blocked from moving into from the brain into the cytoplasm. And the third protein is the glucocorticoid receptor. Everybody's favorite drug, steroids, is actually moved from the brains of the cell into the cytoplasm, and by blocking that, all of these three protein categories that are retained in the nucleus results in the cell death. And so I think what's exciting about this is it's amazing that it's working in myeloma, but the fact that it applies to other tumors tells us this is a general cancer mechanism, right? So many cancer cells are utilizing this mechanism to prevent cell death and avoid chemotherapy killing.
Selinexor is what's called a SINE, a selective inhibitor of nuclear export. Now, if you try to imagine a cell, and inside the cell there's a nucleus, and between the nucleus and the rest of the cell there are little holes called exportins. And they're chemicals that go inside and outside of the nucleus, and part of these help regulate when the cell is allowed to die and when it's not. So when a cell becomes cancerous, it kicks out the proteins that allow it to survive. So it says, I can ignore the signals of the body telling me to kill myself. But what this drug does, selinexor, is it blocks these exportins and traps those chemicals in the nucleus. So when the body tells it, as a cancer cell, to undergo programmed cell death, what we call apoptosis, the cell can't ignore it anymore and is forced to undergo the cell death and not proliferate and cause more cancer.